say the flame to shout, make America great, tell them what it's about. Facts over feelings, cutting through the noise, fighting woke mobs and the kids with toys. They spew their lies, they spreading hate. Let's BS ain't gonna seal our fate. No nonsense here, just straight to the point. Truth to ammo in this battleground joint. Make America great again, stand and fight. Facts over feelings, day and night.
Hey, it's To The Point with Mike, Leo, and Vince.
What's going on, gentlemen? How we doing? Oh, hey, I can't hear you. You guys hear me? Yeah, I still can't hear you for some reason. Hold on. Y'all can hear me though, right? Okay, okay. That's good. I don't know enough sign language to do this interview without hearing y'all's voices.
You got a good shot. If she thinks it's time to work, I don't think you're gonna have too much of a shot with that. Yeah.
Hey, so I've unplugged my headphones and plugged them back in. I don't want to turn my phone off and start it though. The ultimate reset. I don't want to do that. I'm trying to hang out with you guys.
Robert, can you hear us right now?
I can hear you guys now.
Okay, good. We can hear you. It's not going to sound the best, but let me fix it while I introduce you. You are, I would describe you as a political prisoner. And you've got a message and you've got a story. And I saw your interview with Dale and Jim on Two Guys in One Coop. And I was like, I got to get Robert on. We do a different show than those guys.
Right.
But tell us a little more about, first of all, thank you for your service.
Yeah.
3 tours in Afghanistan, Army Ranger. What made you want to be an Army Ranger?
Well, thank you very much for having me. I appreciate that, and I apologize about the audio issue
Oh,
there.
it's all good. It's
Um,
good.
Yeah, what I will tell you is this, from a young age, I was raised to value and appreciate what our armed men and women do on behalf of our country. And I always thought that was absolutely incredible. What I will tell you is this, I didn't actually intend to be an airborne ranger at first. What I wanted to do was serve my country. At the age of 17, I was very excited about going Army infantry, but what ended up happening was I was dared to become a ranger. I was one of the top in my class in infantry school. Out of about 300 candidates, there was only 8 ranger contracts, and I earned one of them. And so, because of my really good precision skills with a firearm and my ability to run fast and also be a quick learner, I was introduced to the opportunity to try out to become a ranger, and that was God's plan all along, I suppose. And so, but it's cool because everything that you see on the television of what the Army does, like fast rope out of helicopters and jump out of planes and blow stuff up, that's what Rangers actually get to do. Not many people in the Army actually get to do that, and I have. So it was an honor to serve. I do it all over again. Yes, you're right, 3 combat tours. But on my first combat tour to Afghanistan is when I discovered that I could make more of an impact as a high school history teacher than I could as an Army Ranger. And so that's when I decided to dedicate my entire life to being an Army Ranger, or excuse me, an high school history teacher.
That's awesome. I don't know how people can even want to be in a classroom full of kids today, but I understand I mean, it's one way of saving America, right? Can you hear me?
Yes, I can hear
Yeah.
you, and that was the goal. That was the point all along. What I can say is that I was totally okay with being a lone Republican in the classroom and or the school district if need be. That was all right with me. That was a price worth paying as far as I'm concerned. Um, I apologize. I'm in a halfway house. I'm
No,
still
you're
behind
good.
enemy lines, guys. So
You're good.
that's
I got 3 kids that are like penned up pit bulls on the other side of the wall. So you're good.
Hey, I'm grateful that that's the case. You guys are exceptional. So yes, I would say that being in a room full of kids sounds scary. I would say that combat's probably scarier. But what I can say is this: that because I had a story to tell and that I was able to command the respect of the students, they were more interested in hearing what I have to say as opposed to somebody who just rolled out of college and then who rolled out of high school and then acted like they had something to offer these students, but never actually lived life. I love one of the quotes in the Braveheart movie that says, "All men die, but very few men really live." And to them, I had really lived life. And now, for a fact, I know that I have, especially after what I've gone through recently as being a political prisoner.
Right. So let's get to that. I know Dale and Jim were more concerned with your hair. I see Dale's in the comments. They're jealous. As we get older, I wish I could grow some hair, but I'm more zeroed in on that day. What brought you to DC on January 6th?
Sure. So what I will say is that Trump had very little to do with it. That has been my response when many people ask me is, "Oh, well, did you go there for Trump or were you obeying Trump's command?" In a way, I was accepting his invitation, absolutely, but there was so much more to that than me just, following Trump because I'm one of his puppets, if you will, or something like that. No, it had a conviction of the American spirit within all of us that can't stand tyranny. And so what we watched throughout all of 2020 is our Congress sell America out. They gave money out to other countries and in expense of our own people. They were willing to completely lock us up and betray us. And it was absolutely apprehensible what these people were willing to do. And so what I was also interested in doing that day was representing how I have already invested blood and sweat equity into this country, and that not many people have or had or were willing to. And so it was a deeper meaning than just, opposing a stolen election or just opposing the pandemic or just doing anything along those lines. It was all the above. And so,
Right.
yes, Trump had played a role. Yes, my conviction as a former Army Ranger played a role, but also it's our responsibility to show up when we see tyranny growing to the degree that it has become. And so I needed to be there as far as
Yeah.
I'm concerned.
Yeah, and I can only imagine, having fought for your country, how you must feel, even in how much it must make you feel even stronger about it and being like, hey, this isn't what I fought for.
That's exactly right. It was a heartbreaking thing to have to come back to America after 3 combat tours and learn more about the real motivations that were driving the war in Iraq and Afghanistan. It had a lot more to do with Dick Cheney lining his pockets than an operation of enduring freedom, from what I can tell. But that does not negate the fact that every man and woman that is serving our country are doing it honorably. And those are the real heroes. And those are the ones that we owe our freedom to, regardless of who's, making money off of their sacrifice. That's a whole nother debate and topic altogether.
Right.
But there's due respect to the people that are willing to write a blank check to their country, to the United States government, and say, put me in harm's way. I think it's worth it for what my country stands for. That's what makes our country the greatest country on the planet, because we're the type of country that's willing to do that with or without a war. And so, I mean, my love of country, I was able to decipher, is divided into three ways, if you will. A man can love his country for its people, a man can love its country for its land, and a man can love his country for his government. Well, I love the American people. I think we're the most incredible people, regardless of the melanin amount in your skin, right?
Yep.
We're the best people on the planet,
Yeah,
full
for sure.
stop. Okay. We also have the most beautiful land that people have fought and died for. And the amount of land that we have been given the responsibility to protect is necessary to the freedom of the state. This is the reason why you have a constitutional amendment to not just own a firearm, but to be a part of a well-regulated militia. You have a constitutional right to do that, which is a responsibility. And so, third and third most, I guess, a man can appreciate his government, and I am very unimpressed with our government. I know I haven't been on the earth as long as others, but I gotta say, I watched 9/11 happen when I was in the third grade. So my whole understanding of what America is has always been the surveillance state, the big brother concept, wars that are unrighteous. And so it's almost like a heartbreaking thing, because I want to love my country as much as I was taught to and as much as my heart wants to. But I can't overlook that we have a lot of work to do as a nation. But that's also something that gives me motivation and pride, because there's no better time to be alive then. That means we have a responsibility. Every single day that we wake up, every time that we put our feet on the ground, we have an option. Are we going to let America slide, or are we going to make America great again? And depending on how many choices we make in either one of those directions, we're either going to recite Ronald Reagan's speech, when literally called A Time for Choosing, where he says that, in our sunset years, we're going to be telling our children what it was like in America when men were free, or we're going to enjoy that freedom with our grandkids
Yeah.
because we fought for it today.
Yeah, I
Yeah.
never heard of them
Yeah.
giving us any rights back, especially
Never.
since 9/11. It was like a puzzle plan, roadmap to take
Yeah.
more rights away as we get more on. So on January 6th, put me in your shoes. What do you see when, I would say, the shit starts hitting? And when did you realize, oh shit, this is bigger than what I thought I was here for? And what did you see? Like, I don't want you. I mean, I know you're doing your time and whatnot. You can't talk about everything, but put me in your shoes that day, because I can't imagine
It's just
being trapped up in that and finding myself
just crazy.
in it.
Sure. Well, I mean, I will say that because I'm locked up, I want to sing like a bird, because I shouldn't be here. So, if anything, I want to tell you more of the story, right?
Yeah,
So that
Yeah,
this
for
never
sure.
happens again, because that's how we prevent this from happening again, is telling our stories. I want to be the last political prisoner, man. I consider myself part of the second wave of political prisoners. I think, Paul Manafort and Roger Stone and Dinesh D'Souza. Those guys were the first wave of modern day political prisoners. Okay. But the January 6ers were the second and bigger wave of the political prisoners. I want to be the last. I don't want there to be a third wave. So we have to talk about this. But to answer your question, we go into a huge discussion about this within the pages of the book. One Question Remains, a book that Kelly Meggs and I, he's a leader of the Florida Oath Keepers chapter, wrote while we were locked up together in Philadelphia last year. We smuggled it out of prison. It's available now on Amazon. But we go into trying to put the reader into the perspectives of what it was like that day. And to try to break it down for you, my story was this. I thought it was too early to have fireworks. The sun was out. It was cloudy. Who was going to be shooting fireworks? Maybe the election was saved. Maybe the steal was stopped. Maybe Mike Pence did do the right thing and they're shooting fireworks to celebrate. Who knows? But these popping noises didn't make any sense. And as I drew closer to the Capitol, because everybody was kind of meandering that way, but I also had to pass that way in order to get home. I had a job interview the very next day. Okay, so I had no intention of taking over the United States government. I can promise you that. That was not on my calendar.
Right.
But as I got closer, I started to recognize those are not fireworks.
Right.
Those are flashbangs. Those are explosions. And so the sounds that I was hearing, combined with the uniform that I was wearing, because I deliberately wore the uniform that I had deployed to Afghanistan 3 times in to symbolize how I had already invested sweat and blood equity into the freedom of this country,
Right.
heightened my senses. My Ranger training starts to kick in. And what contributed to that was old ladies getting shield bashed in the face. What contributed to that was watching people get shot at, completely unprovoked, completely innocent. What
Right.
contributed to that was young kids, innocent women, and elderly being targeted by the police, shooting flashbangs into the crowd who had fled the CCP, who were passing out CCP flyers and the CCP flyers hours prior, and were the most patriotic Americans I think I'd ever met, because they fled from China to America because they know what communism is like,
Right.
and they know what stolen elections look like, and so they were able to identify that on November 3rd. But then watching them get shot at and blown up, that set me off. I ran right in, and try to put yourselves in the biggest bar fight you have ever been in your entire life. Then multiply that by 10 against people that you thought you could trust, right? Because the entire time of 2020, we were chanting back the blue. We were supposed to take up for the police because they're supposed to be the good guys. They were the ones that were unjustly
Thank you.
targeted during the social justice movements and the Black Lives Matter movements and everything like this. And so here we were all year long saying, no, we're on the side of the police. But then watching the police target the innocent and blow them up
Makes no
warped my
sense.
mind. And then check this out, because I know y'all are patriots. So now you have this bar fight. You see people get blown up. You're hearing mayhem. You're hearing screams. You're hearing violence. You're seeing blood. And then there's people playing bagpipes in the background. I'm not even kidding you. There's little drummer boys walking back and forth behind you, like it's a Revolutionary War battle, like we're at Bunker Hill or something. And then you got people on megaphones screaming, "This is it, Patriots. It's now or never. It's do or die. If you don't do something now, you're going to lose your country forever."
Like
You had
something out
people
of a
in the
movie.
crowd. You had people in the crowd screaming things like, and granted, everybody's cell phones were dead because there's so many people in one place that it's like a concert. No one can get any service. Okay.
Yeah.
So no one can check their phones to verify any of this stuff. So you got people in the crowd saying things on megaphones like, every single capital is being taken over right now. This is a nationwide movement. Let's go, America. Let's do this. Every single capital is being overthrown. The CNN building is being overtaken. There's people saying this stuff in the crowd. And so you're
Right.
hearing this, not knowing if any of this is true. And then to top it all off, you're hearing stuff like they just shot a 14-year-old girl. which if
Right.
anyone's ever played the telephone game, you know how that works.
Oh, yeah,
Ashley
for
Babbitt was murdered that day,
Yep.
who was a 14-year veteran in the Air Force. But by the time that word spread, right, all you hear is 14, the number, and then the gender girl,
Sure.
so that it can be twisted into something that incites violence of the men.
For
And so
sure.
we describe this in the book. One question remains is that, these patriots that had done everything within their power to survive the pandemic, to put food on the table, to survive the lockdowns, all that stuff, we're now put in between a rock and a hard place. Between the police officers that were ordered to instigate the crowd into violence and the hidden provocateurs dressed in camouflage as Trump supporters that were actually Antifa or paid informants for the FBI, both of which have been confirmed by this point in time, are screaming at us from behind that you got to do something. It was a perfect storm, dude. It was a
Yeah.
maelstrom
The
that
chemistry
drew
was
me
right.
in like a moth to the flame.
Yeah.
Yeah, the chemistry. is
Everything
right.
just it was just a big puzzle, just falling into pieces, just perfectly. Everything just for the
Yes.
perfect people, just like you, to be right at that perfect moment.
Yes.
Like it's just
Now
like
check this out.
it's
This,
just
like you say, the puzzle pieces fell into place. It wasn't like this was a random circumstance. The
No,
puzzle
it sounds
pieces are
planned.
always designed to fit
Oh.
into place. And in the book, What Question Remains, we go to the lengths to describe other pieces of literature that describe this type of plot. Okay.
Yeah.
In the book called Confessions of an Economic Hitman, it goes to great lengths to describe how the CIA has been doing this type of political machinations in order to create that kind of mayhem so that
yeah.
these countries in South America are beholden to the United States because they are intimidated and coerced into submission with threats up to and including political protests, stolen elections, and assassinations. And so this was essentially the biggest notch on the belt of the CIA to implement a riot of that grade on American soil so that they could cover the tracks of a stolen election and get the wrong man elected. And in the book, we also go to great lengths to try to show how we compare this event to what's known as the Reichstag fires. The Reichstag fires happened in 1933 in Germany at the legislative building, where the wrong political party is held responsible. A media campaign is put into place so that there's a national emergency, okay? And then on top of that, too, the wrong man gets elected. And you guessed it, that's how Adolf Hitler rises to power. So for as many times as the Democrats want to compare Trump to Hitler or the MAGA movement to Nazis, they sure know how to make a playbook come to life from Hitler's own playbook. So it's crazy that this is actually real, but we go to lengths to try to elaborate on this in the book. One Question Remains, so we can all be on the same page, just like you say, so we can ring the alarm bell to the American people so that this never happens again. Oh, I don't have any audio, guys. I can't hear you again.
We lost our electricity for a split second there. I'm glad you were able to keep it going, man. Can you hear me
no
now?
worries. I can hear you
Okay,
now,
perfect.
baby. We're good.
I don't know what's going on. We're in Florida, by the way, and it's like near freezing temperatures. Well,
Oh, wow.
For us.
So everybody's got their heat on, so our electric grid is pretty tapped.
I don't know. I
Hey.
thought because you on air, they'd shut us down real quick or something.
No.
Well, you know what? Hey, you know what? Either that or I think this is spiritual warfare. I got to tell you, ever since I've been doing interviews and I've been doing my best to sound the alarm about this tyrannical government, I have had nightmares every single night. And I know
went down
that
with
I know that the enemy hates the fact, whether they're of this world or not, that we're talking about their schemes so that we can rise to the occasion and combat that. And so I believe that every single bump in the road is spiritual warfare. And that's why, I mean, you guys are part of the prayer network. So we already know that, we're waging war not against flesh and blood, but of principalities of the unseen. And so, and that's, again, this is something that we try to implement in the book. One Question Remains is that, you know, this is a fight worth having, because it's a fight that has been against mankind and God since the beginning. And that is a war against good and evil. And now there's no way to try to discard that. People are picking sides, man, and it's true.
Oh yeah, for sure.
Yeah, it's almost you almost have to. You're forced to nowadays.
Yeah.
There's no in between. But I hope you didn't touch on it while I was trying to get the internet back up and going. But take me from January 6th to when you found out they were going to come for you, or they were there for you. What was that time frame in between?
It was very tragic, because I knew that at any point in time, my life as I knew it would be over. It was as if I was told that I had terminal cancer. But here's the problem. I knew that I also couldn't tell anybody about it, because that would rope them into the doom, the impending doom, that the Damocles sword that was hovering over my head. And so I had to suffer in silence. I had to
How
lie to
quickly?
my friends and family
How
and
quickly
let them
did you
know
know
that
it was coming?
the very next day. I was on the FBI's most
Yeah,
wanted list.
The very next day.
very next day.
Wow.
We all were.
And how
That's the
long
thing.
until they picked you up?
So I was picked up on June 11th of 2021. So I had almost like a 5-6 month run. And it was crazy because, like I said, I felt as though that I had terminal cancer. I couldn't tell anybody what was going on.
Yeah.
And so when spring break comes around, because as you know, I was a teacher, you know, I decided, oh my God, like if I can get away with this, I'm going to see my family for one last time. And so I flew back to Reno. You know, I took my girlfriend that I had at the time with me. I saw my mom and my dad. I couldn't tell them anything. I could just appreciate their presence. I went and visited my grandparents in Utah. I went to Angel's Landing in Zion. I got to breathe in the fresh air and think to myself, I can't believe that I'm here right now, but I need to hang on to every single sensory stimuli right now because it's all about to be taken from me. And so they waited until I was arrested to say that I was a flight risk. They waited until the last day of school to arrest me. And then a year and a half into my bid, uh, I finally get to see my discovery, which is totally unconstitutional. But they admit in the discovery, which is, you know, your evidence, the feds admit that their plan was to arrest me on the last day of school because it was going to hurt more. And so only then, after my arrest, did they want to call me a danger to society. Even though for the last 5-6 months, you knew who I was, you knew where I was, and you allowed me to be around children the entire time.
Right. So obviously you weren't a threat.
No, and they know that. But I think, you know what though? Here's the deal. I'm not a physical threat to them. I'm an intellectual one. Because I was
Right.
willing to preach the gospel. I was willing to talk about real history, and I was okay being the lone ranger wherever I ended up.
I like how you touch on the gospel. So describe to us what prison was like as a local prisoner from the time they picked you up to the time you got into the halfway house.
Well, I gotta say, I mean, I don't think you can summarize that, you know, in a comment. I can say that
Listen, let me tell you something.
I saw evil face to face. I felt evil within me. And it was a second by second battle to maintain my mental and intellectual sovereignty. As you can tell, you can hear chaos around me at all times. And I have not known a moment of peace or privacy for the last 4 years.
It's crazy.
I have not known
now that you're
food that was nutritional to my body. I have not known rest. I have not known happiness. I have not known the embrace that I could trust. I mean, you know, the walls are pale. The food tastes like ash in your mouths. I'm surrounded by demonic forces. Wrath and envy and pride are the medication that they provide. And I'm surrounded by ghouls who have already offered up their souls for, you know, for Esau's pot of soup. I mean, it's a soul crushing experience that it would be very difficult to try to synthesize in a comment. It's going to take me a long time to try to unpack. But what I will tell you is that I have never known rage like I do today. And that's a contributing factor to why I no longer drink alcohol anymore. One, because it's never done me any good. I've never had a time where I'm so thankful that I've ever drank an alcohol. So I don't. But I also know that the first time I transitioned back into the civilian world, I transitioned poorly. I used alcohol as a crutch, but it was a false idol that I worshipped, and I paid so much money for the damage that it caused as I worshipped it in vain. This time, as I transition back into society, I am so mad and I'm so heartbroken, and I have nothing left of my former life. My friends have abandoned me. My brother has disowned me. My father, who raised me to love the Constitution and our founding fathers, barely speak to me. Obviously, my country has betrayed me after a life of service and no criminal history whatsoever. I don't even want to play that game. I don't even want to dance with that devil. And that's the reason why I don't drink, because every single moment I express restraint, and I use my motivation based off of Judeo-Christian values, based off of the Gospels, to transform that anger into a constructive force and for a force for good, so that I can use the emotion that I have within me to try to build instead of destroy, which includes myself.
Crazy. I can only imagine, when you said about, you never felt rage like that before. Like I can only imagine.
He's muted right now. Yeah. Yeah. It's, I couldn't imagine being there. Now, thank God for the halfway house. How did that even, I mean, that's not thank God you're in it, but thank God you can transition out of prison to the halfway house. How is that even possible? Like, to me, it's, we were talking with a few others, and it's, for you, it's easy for us to talk to, it's easy for us to get a hold of, but it's not the same for everybody. I don't know anything about a halfway house. Can you describe that?
Sure. But before I get into the halfway house, you said something there to the effect of, we don't thank God for the fact that I'm here. But in fact, my friend, I do. I am actually grateful
Yes.
that I'm here. And here's the reason why. It says in the Gospels that many were called, but few were chosen. I know for a fact that I needed to be here. It makes sense. My Ranger training, my background, my background in the military, but my background at Penn State, everything kind of made sense, and I'm a better person because of this. And so, to a degree, as much as this has hurt and as much as this has cost me, myself and every other political prisoner has awoken this sense of urgency and pride and fervent retaliation in the American, so that we can actually want to make America great again. It's not a slogan anymore, it's a way of life. And so, to a small degree, I can kind of relate to, Jonah and Joseph and Job, who went through horrendous things, but at the end of their trials and tribulations understood that it was all part of God's plan. In the book of Job, the devil asks God permission if he can torment Job, and God gives him permission to do it. How crazy is that? But he also had confidence that Job wasn't going to break. And so I'd like to imagine that a very similar gamble happened in my life on some cosmic level, where, the devil asked God, hey, what about Robert? Do you think I can break him? And God said, I bet you can, but go ahead and try. And because of the devil's attempts to break me, God has actually built me. It's like what they say in Genesis 50, where Joseph finally confronts his brothers again after being sold into slavery. God, or what y'all intended for evil, God always intended for good. And so, to get to your halfway house question, it's something that happened because of Donald Trump's First Step Act. I'm here because of Donald Trump signing the First Step Act into law. Though it was a bill written as a bill while Obama was president, he didn't sign it. Obama did, or Trump did. And no, so the halfway house is supposed to be this transitional thing. It's a load of garbage. They don't help you at all. They don't care. They're actually more motivated to take you back to prison than get you back out on the streets. But as far as going through this journey through the underworld, I'm at a place in my heart where I'm grateful for it because I'm more of a man now that's capable of being a good husband and a good father than I ever would have had I not gone through this in the first place. And that's our priority as men, to rise to the occasion, to lift ourselves up, to trust in God and say, you know what? I want to be at the point where I can confidently say, as for me and my house, we will serve the Lord. And I think this experience brought me to that conclusion where I want to be able to say that. I don't think I wanted it until now, but now I do. And that might have been the whole point all along.
Well, you're definitely an inspiration. So, what is your insight? What do you feel about January 20th? Do you feel what's the chances of Trump getting you that pardon and you being a free man on dinner time for the 20th?
Well, we're dealing with the government here, so they're going to drag their feet. What I would say is this. I have been told by numerous sources that Donald Trump actually thinks about the January 6th political prisoners every night before he goes to sleep. I think he knows on a personal level the type of vindictive and tyrannical and communist stance that our government has taken against its own people, him included. Think about it. A felon just became the president. Like, that's
Yes.
insane, man. And like for the first time in American history, we're sitting here thinking like, man, maybe being a felon isn't so bad after all, And so, yeah, but that's the other thing that's also very interesting to consider too, is that if your government is tyrannical and they consider you a felon, maybe that becomes a badge of honor, and that's how you know you're a patriot.
Right.
And so I think that he's going to pardon us. I think that there's bureaucracy, of course, but I think that he knows on a personal level what it feels like to be targeted by, the Thomas Hobbes Leviathan that this government has become, and that's what's going to motivate him to want to pardon us. And I've said it before, and I'll say it again. The way that Shadrach, Meshach, and Abednego endured the threats of the fiery furnace in Daniel 3, that biblical defiance that they had of telling Nebuchadnezzar, we're not going to bow down to your idols. And we know that God's going to save us from this furnace. But even if he doesn't, we're still not going to bow down to your golden idol. That biblical defiance is what I have. Even if Trump doesn't pardon me, that doesn't change a thing, dude. I love my country whether or not I get a pardon or not. I know for a fact that I stood on my 2 feet and told the government, shame on you, I see through you. And so even for that, I'm okay with the concept of missing out on the pardon, because it wasn't about the pardon. It wasn't about becoming a celebrity. It wasn't about becoming somebody that, I can talk to people from across the country. This was about our home, man. And so if more people are willing to take courage, as we are told to do over and over again in the Bible, this never would have happened in the first place. But we've been given a second chance that we don't deserve. And so, these things didn't happen to me for my own benefit, though I'm designing this, I'm choosing for that to be the case. This has happened for the country as a whole. Initially, the federal government wanted to arrest me with 17 rifles pointed at my face on the last day of school, not so that they could belittle me, but so that they could intimidate the rest of America. Don't you dare stand up, or you're next. Okay. But because of the fighting spirit that is notoriously American, since we carved out the wilderness of the New World to today, and our ancestors fought for this land with their fingernails, everything that the feds have tried to do has backfired because they totally underestimated the fighting spirit that America was founded on. I love this story, and we include this in the book. One question remains. I love the story, whether or not it's true or not, of either the admiral of Japan's Navy or the emperor at the time commenting on the fact that the attacks on Pearl Harbor that kicked off World War II awoken a sleeping giant. And we say that the sleeping giant was not limited to folklore, but it was an actual real entity, and it is the person reading this book. You are that sleeping giant. And January 6th just might have been designed by God to wake that giant up so that it could remember its strength and kick communism to the curb and off the shores of America once and for all.
Yeah. So one question that remains, right?
Yes.
Where can
Yes,
people
that's the
get the
title of the
book?
book. So you can find it on Amazon. You can also find it on my website titled www.akathelego.man.com with 2 G's because I don't want to get sued by Lego. But I'm also rolling the dice here because you'll also find on that same website what we're selling as known as freedom blocks.
I heard about this.
Customizable little imitations of Lego so that you yourself can feel a part of the January 6th community, but also it symbolizes how much you want to quite literally rebuild America, avenge America, and make America great again. You can find those cute little bricks on the website. You can find the book, One Question Remains, on the website, but you can also find a bunch of literature that I've produced while I've been incarcerated, so you know what I'm about. But speaking of things that you can also find, once your listeners and yourselves find One Question Remains in your mailbox and it's safely in your hands, you're going to enjoy the read. You're not going to want to put it down. But at the end of the book, you're going to notice that the last page is blank. And you're going to notice that at the very top, there's a couple lines there that seem out of place, but it reads, "And we, with a firm reliance on the protection of Providence, we here pledge our lives, our fortunes, and our sacred honor." And you guys know where that's from, right?
Enlighten us.
That is the last line of the Declaration of Independence.
Yeah,
And so
that's
the
what I thought.
idea is that your readers, can sign your names next to the signature that you will receive from the January 6er that's about to get out of prison, and collect those signatures underneath where our founding fathers signed their names, so that not only can you personally contribute to history, but that this book, One Question Remains, becomes an inseparable part of the January 6th community, and it becomes a collector's item for history itself. So you can go and get the signatures of Ethan Nordine and Enrique Tarrio and Stuart Rhodes, and hey, maybe even the Lego Man, right? But you can
Yeah.
also add your own name, because you, by listening to this podcast, are part of that January 6th movement that has kickstarted the desire and the necessity to make America great again.
That's awesome. My son loves Legos, and I'll admit I'm a fan too. So we'll definitely be checking out the website and all that.
Perfect.
I'm doing right now.
You guys have any questions for Robert before we let him go?
One thing that I was thinking about when I was kind of freshening up on everything that had happened to you, how do you view like what you did and what you've been through because of what you did, what you went through, versus like people from like the BLM movement? They're like tearing down statues that meant so much to so many of us, and but yet those people are not behind bars right now. I mean, like it just, I guess it's not as much of a question as more of a statement. Is just, it just goes to show how much this is all about politics with you as far as being a political prisoner. It's just,
Sure.
it
Well,
was just something that I was thinking about.
Yeah, well, to answer your question and even to piggyback on your statement, while I was locked up during the whole Hamas protests, you had a Hamas supporter, which is an insidious group of people that ought to be eradicated from the face of the earth. You had a Hamas supporter punch a Capitol police officer, a black woman, in the face and only get 48 hours of community service. Meanwhile, I didn't do anything like that, and I'm having to do 3.5 years. Come on.
Yeah,
Now.
well, it's
So,
reminiscence.
Crazy.
It's reminiscence of what we see in Europe bleeding down through Canada.
Yes.
Before I almost forgot. What do you think of the information they're releasing now about the pipe bomber on January 6th? What do you think? Do you believe in coincidences? What do you think the objective is here?
Well, I will quote Albert Einstein and the protagonist from the movie V for Vendetta when I say, we don't believe in coincidences, and we, like God, do not play with dice. So I don't want to spoil it for you guys because this is also in the book, but we do cover the pipe bomber, okay? Your readers will have their minds blown with what we speculate. But Trump said it today. The FBI knows who the pipe bomber is.
Yes.
I don't think that those were even bombs that were planted. Again, I don't want to spoil it for you. I'm super tempted to do that right now on, this podcast. But what I will tell you is this. There was a design, as has been confirmed by video footage, to lure people into the Capitol. Why did people need to enter the Capitol? Why was the Stop the Steal rally scheduled for the very same day as the certification of the Electoral College results? So, again, you might already know where I'm going with this, but I'm not going to say it because I don't want to spoil it. But I can already tell y'all are smiling back there and y'all know where I'm headed. So, I don't want to say it because I don't want to spoil it for the reader, but that too was a part of the plan. I am going to say that someone within the FBI planted those movie props because we already have video footage of them walking up to an unmarked police car and having a lengthy conversation in the middle of the night, dressed like a hoodlum. So how does that make any sense? In the most surveyed city on the planet, then also disappear off camera? It doesn't happen unless it was all part of the plan. And I think, I'm telling you, man, you're tempting me to spoil this, but I'm not going to do it. So that's about all I'll say about that.
I won't twist your arm. I want make sure people at home watching check out the book. Get it on Amazon. Check out the website. Robert,
Yes.
I want to thank you. You are a national hero. I hope you get out of there this month. The sooner the better, because it's not a pretty place, even being a halfway house.
No.
You said you saw some pedos walk on a Biden
Yes.
pardon, right?
5 of them left this
disgraceful.
building. Yeah. So
That's disgraceful.
yeah, 5 of them that were in this building. We call them chomos in prison, right? It's short for child molester. They got let go, but here I remain. How does that make sense? This is what I'll say, and I'm gonna say this till the day I die. This isn't like a one oopsie every once in a while. This isn't a mistake. Only our nation's enemies would behave this way. Only our nation's enemies would award someone like George Soros or Hillary Clinton with the Freedom Award of all things after the disgusting things that they have done. After what happened to Chris Stevenson, after what happened in Benghazi, after what has happened in a ton of European countries' economics collapsing because of George Soros. I mean, just the list goes on and on of the things that they have done to bring down the West. And they're getting one of the best medals that you can earn as a civilian.
Crazy.
Absolutely.
Get the hell out of
This
here.
this world's upside down.
But you know what? We can fix that. We can fix
Yes.
that, guys. We don't have to be spectators. Obviously, the man in the arena quote is awesome. We reference that in the book because not only do I feel as though I can relate to the man in the arena now, but you can join me. And as much as it's cost me, I recognize that the sting of cowardice hurts more than the initial slap in the face of reality, notifying you that, hey, your conditions are about to change. But I would rather go down on my feet than beg on my knees.
Yep,
For sure. Robert, thank you. I hope you'll come back on
I'd
as
love
a
to.
free man. We go live every Tuesday, and if not, you want to get a message out, you're welcome on the show anytime.
Thank you
I
so
hope
much.
to see-
Hopefully I can be there in person next time.
Hey, man, you're welcome anytime, man. Robert, I'm going to let you go. We're going to pay some bills with an ad or two, and then we're going to come back and just talk about our year past and year to come. Robert,
Well,
thanks
hey,
again.
God bless you guys. Thank you so much. Thanks for putting
God
the
bless
message
you.
out there. And thank you for being proud Americans that I can count on. God bless you guys.
Thank you for coming on, Robert.
Thank you.
I look forward to seeing what you do moving forward.
Thank you,
Thank
sir.
you again.
Thank you, Robert.
Thank you.
Yes, sir. Take it easy.
You too.
As we age, we lose a bit of energy. Of course, that's not our fault. Our bodies change as we grow. Healing patches rejuvenate your cells and in the skin play a key role in the aging process. Research has found that as we age, the number and function of these cells decline, which can lead to a decrease in skin elasticity and the development of wrinkles. But what if there was a product that could restore that spunk for more than just our skin? There is, and it does. The product draws out other huge benefits such as more energy, better sleep, reduced stress, and pain management. If you would like more information, please go to miraclehealingtherapy.com. That's miraclehealingtherapy.com. Here's that website address once again, miraclehealingtherapy.com.
You weren't lying. And we're going to
America faces challenges like never before. Economic uncertainty, social unrest, debt implosion. The foundations of our freedom are under attack. To restore strength, prosperity, and the American way of life,
I plan to ensure that the United States will be the crypto capital of the planet and the Bitcoin superpower of the world.
introducing the Trump token, blending the deflationary model of Bitcoin with the technological advancement of Solana. It's more than just a cryptocurrency. It's America's future medium of exchange. Stand with Trump. Secure your future at thetrumptoken.com.
All right, and we're back. Vince had to step out. You know, he's getting older. He's got to use the restroom a lot more. That was a great guest, guys. Like I said, I saw Robert on Two Guys One Coop with Dale and Jim. They're on the Patriot Prayer Network on Wednesdays, the Mondays and Wednesdays, and I'm waiting for them to do the third day. You know, Monday, Wednesday, Friday. But you know, we all need to maybe when we pick up MSNBC.
I was thinking when he was saying, you know, like I was trying to put myself into his shoes. They're like, you know, you just walking by and of course you're gonna him being you know out in Afghanistan and done what was it three tours,
yeah. Three combat tours.
So you're gonna tell me he doesn't know what distinct what like you know like bombs and stuff like that is gonna sound like?
Yeah, well, certainly had to remind him of a war zone, you know, with the flashbangs going off, and
for sure. So, what's his first reactions, man?
I don't know. I'm gonna try and catch up on some comments
right here. It's just crazy. It's just. I just can't put myself there, you know, and it's just crazy how like everything just happens, you know, like a little puzzle. Everything just connects.
Yeah, you know. And I wanted to ask him if he wanted to go back into teaching at some point, but like, I mean, I guess if Trump pardons him, does that clear his record? Could he be a teacher again, technically?
I don't know exactly. Well, in his state, I heard him say on another podcast that they deemed him his actions immoral. So even if his convictions went away, he can't hold the teaching license in the state of Pennsylvania. That's crazy. Thanks to Duck Butta 69, hell of a show. And that was even before we started. Our audio was shitty, and then our electricity went out. I had to use my phone internet until I can patch over. But thanks to Thaddeus's Q-Tip for getting in the comments. We appreciate you. Always look forward to seeing your comments every week. Dale, yep, thanks for being there. Keep fighting, Robert from Truthful Troll. Yep, thanks for Buckeye McGroin for joining our comments. I'm a fan. I'm not gonna lie. Dragon McGroin, hey, how's it going? Yeah, it was a great guest.
Yeah, he's
been looking forward to this podcast tonight. Congratulations on hitting this milestone. Thank you. For us, it's episode 100. We skipped a few over the past year or two due to vacations and stuff like that. For the most part, I think we've done pretty damn good.
Yeah, we've missed a few for vacations. Maybe a week because of a hurricane here.
Yeah, weather and stuff like that.
But yeah, crazy. 100 episodes.
So while I'm going through these comments, what did we have?
Robert was very, you know, I could see him as a motivational speaker too.
I could see him on a podcast.
Yeah, oh yeah, he's a
very
good
I think
speaker.
Eddie should get with Robert and see what his future.
Yeah,
I mean, there's no money in it, but
we definitely like to hear what he'd had to say. You know, he's definitely got a voice.
I like his energy too. He definitely could be in a darker place, and yet he's still shining pretty bright. Yeah. So definitely check out his book at amazon.com/one question remains. To check out the links. I don't know if they'll be in the comment section, but they're in the live comments. Yeah, and there's his website, aka the Lego Man. That's 2G, so he doesn't get sued. I can understand that.
But it's just crazy, man. You know, just people from all over this world, you know, like it's just like he was saying, how is he just called to go there?
You know what though? It was a day of shock for most Americans. I know everyday people that just happened to be in to go to DC that day. I knew of them, like social media friends. Not, I don't know. You know a lot of people, but they're social media people. They're not. And I kind of wonder what happened to them. You know, if they went in too far, if they got picked up, because here in Vero Beach, they picked up a grandma not too long ago. So, like literally within a few months ago,
one of the
they're still making arrests.
Crazy things too that I took from what he had to say too was just the, people on megaphones saying that this is going on, every capital in the country is being overtaken right now.
That was just some
14-year-old girl was going like they're people on megaphones that are just fueling the crowd, fueling their anger, fueling the riot. Trying to make it what it was. These people on the megaphones, they weren't regular people like us. These were people that were put there, planted there. They were told they're for.
They definitely were. Well, they already come out and said there was like 26 people associated with an intelligence agency there, but they weren't FBI agents. But I want to know how many people there collected a salary from the U.S. government.
So
how many
in
of them,
one way or another,
right?
So
in the past or present.
So right now, just speaking about this, it just makes me think that this is literally was planted there. It was made to be like this, and
it was planned.
Yes, and for some reason, some people interrupted this, and it messed up their plans. So that's why they're paying for it, right? But I can totally see Netflix as a company in this, or some kind of video production, some kind of like
somebody involved
that does movies or stuff like this.
Well, usually they're tied together somehow, somewhere.
Because, come on, you're gonna tell me this
just like Disney and NASA. Yeah,
that's what I'm saying. Like you're gonna tell me this wasn't planned for this, so in the future people forget, people don't say anything, if people don't speak up about it, they can make it and say this is what happened when it was just a show. It was just no, it really did happen.
Yeah. And a lot of these things that we see happen
was real.
A lot of these things we see happen, even COVID. This stuff's all taken right from script, right from either books or movies.
Yeah.
January 6th, just like he said. I don't remember the name of the book that he said, but Mike, you might remember.
One Question Remains.
Right. No, the other book where they took this plot, January 6th, right out of a book.
Oh. I went down. I missed it.
But like all this kind of stuff, it all comes like a lot of the stuff, the conspiracies that they use and our own government's using.
Right.
It's stuff that they've stolen from either movies, books, stuff that's been predicted in the years in advance.
Yeah. Anyways, hopefully Trump gets in there. First thing he does after he puts his hand on the Bible after swearing in is issue the pardon and get those guys out. It would be phenomenal.
Yeah.
If almost all of them, because I would say there's probably a few of them in there that might need to be looked at a little closer, but I would say 99.9% of the guys picked up on January 6th should be let go.
But you know what's crazy too, Mike? Like they had cameras set up, like he was saying,
right.
Like this.
Well, not just that, but not just that. I saw detailed footage the other day that was released of the pipe bomb. There was 2 different closed caption cameras that caught it. One of them only recorded at 1 frame per second. They said that's made that way. Not made that way, but it was altered to do that because you haven't been able to buy a camera that records that shitty since the 70s, even closed caption TV stuff. So it was made to only show us they only released 1 frame per second. Right. Just like, what is that? Just like the Pentagon camera. Okay. And then the other camera footage.
Especially these people that have top security.
Right.
They're using the cheapest shit of cameras.
So
come on.
There was there was another camera that was faster, but guess what? They slowed it down to match the other one for comparison reasons. Now the analysis, I think it was Julie Kelly on the Benny Johnson show. Her deal was like, you don't do that. You don't alter any video. It's evidence. Like, so why would they adjust one to slow it down
Right.
to match the shitty one. So you can go on and on about January 6th. The bottom line is that's why the Pentagon was a lie. And I agree. 1 frame per second on the Pentagon.
Yeah.
I can't see crap tonight. Let me see what do we got here. Yep. Reichstag fire, exactly the same thing. Yep. So let's move on. Speaker Johnson, you guys really don't get into the actual inter-party politics, but Speaker Johnson was elected speaker, even though he's given billions away to Ukraine, and we don't know where billions are that have gone to Ukraine. But go figure. I think this is part of Trump's plan. I'm going to run through these real quick because we are running over tonight, but a lot's happened since the New Year's Eve show, which we did all night, which is pretty good. Biden, Robert touched on it. Biden honors people like Liz Cheney, Hillary Clinton, George Soros.
That one.
And I mean, like the country's greatest honor you can get from the president as a civilian. And Biden is just like handing these out to people whose integrity is seriously in question.
Mike, I didn't know about it, and then like I got on my computer and I saw a headline because when my first page opens up, it's a news. So I'm like, George Soros and Hillary Clinton.
Right? Can you believe that?
get
Knowing
that medal?
what you know now,
And I'm like,
George Soros.
I'm like, this is bullshit. So I clicked on it. I'm like, there's no fucking way.
I don't know. I think Biden is trying to buy an extra couple years of oxygen because George Soros is obviously the hand of the devil.
Right.
I mean, look at him, former Nazi. Let me share this real quick. We do need to do some plugs, and we have a couple more headlines. Eddie has got Tim Burchett on tomorrow, who is a senator. Eddie, if that's you on there, refresh us where Tim Burchett is senator for. Yeah, Soros is a Nazi. 7 a.m. Pacific time, 10 a.m. Eastern time, which is perfect for people on our coast. Make sure you check out the interview with Tim Burchett.
Can another president strip the medal?
No, and you can't do that with pardons either. But there might be some. I don't know. It's gray area because you want your executive branch to have just the right amount of power and pleasure. Like the props to the pluses to it. Same with your congressman.
Yeah.
You don't want them to trade stocks, but yet, we only want to pay them so much. So they're doing crazy kind of job. And unless you expect them to take kickbacks and bribery, let's pay them better. Yeah. So I'm not all against pay raises for the guys that deserve it, but there should also be term limits too.
Yeah, I was gonna say along with pay raises should come term limits.
Tim Burchett is a congressman now from Tennessee. Check that out with Eddie and him tomorrow morning, Eastern time, 10 a.m., 7 a.m. Pacific. I think he's got it backwards. 7 a.m. Pacific, 10 a.m. Eastern. I don't know. We're gonna have to fact check you there. But anyways, so on New Year's Eve, we did a pretty long stream. Thanks to Eddie for joining. There was the attack in New Orleans. I don't think we covered it. Guy with an ISIS flag drove a rented truck into a crowd. I think he ended up killing 15, injuring over 35. He did time in the service. He served at Fort Bragg. Then the very next day, a well-decorated, I believe he was a Green Beret, Matthew Berg, he went by the name Matthew Berg on a reality show. Little'sberger, I can't pronounce his last name right now. I don't have it in front of me. Took a Cybertruck, a Tesla Cybertruck, to Trump Tower in Vegas, really close to where Eddie is, founder of Patriots Prayer Network, co-founder, and blew up his Cybertruck. But he didn't do it in a way a Green Beret would if you wanted to take down a tower, which he definitely was capable of. Right. He did it with a propane tank and some fireworks. But the sad part is we know now they're telling us he shot himself in the head first 17 seconds before the detonation with a Desert Eagle. Like a 50 caliber. I forget what the bullet's like. But either way, I've shot in one of those before. You have. That's a hell of a gun to take your life with, but maybe that's all he had. I don't know.
That's
Something
too big.
doesn't seem right there.
For him to take his life with a Desert Eagle, though, that's.
I don't
I
know.
mean, you pull that. I mean,
Everything was burnt to a
that
crisp,
thing's already
except
too
a
heavy.
little piece of his tattoo and military ID, I believe. But everything else was unidentifiable. And then there was some question with DNA evidence not matching his son's, which, right, the DNA didn't match his children. Right. So, maybe that's part of the reason why he took his life. Maybe he found out they weren't his children. I don't know. I'd hate to put myself in that man's position. But at this point, I haven't gotten to check the video, but there's a video being pushed around in our chats that raises question again about the Las Vegas shooting at the Jason Aldean concert.
Oh yeah, I remember that.
So much this government's thrown at us. There's so much to question at this point. When they don't give you answers, you might as well assume your wildest imagination.
But yeah, they can find the guy from January 6th.
They can't find the guy with the bomb.
Yeah,
that
they
was
can't
literally
find-
on the
that's what I'm
phone, on camera,
That's what
on
I'm
a
saying. They can't find
timestamp.
him, but they can find the other
They
people
can-
that they know
Triangulate
who
people
he is.
across the
They
country.
know.
Yeah.
You know, they can't find all these other people. They found the guy from the CEO.
Right.
They found him
With the cell phone. And that was another, recently.
Mike,
It's like,
they
oh,
can't find him.
so they brought that up. They're like, oh, yeah, when that happened, right? Remember
Right.
they found the kid in Pennsylvania and
My
they're like, oh,
question
yeah,
is-
you were able to find him. Why couldn't you find the pie bomber? Now they're releasing video.
My question is,
But they're not telling
all,
us
all
who-
these
where's the
distractions at the
Who's the
same
pipe bomber?
time. What are they doing that we don't know about right now?
Well, I think a lot of them are dishing it out. They're going to the backup plan because Kash Patel will be in charge of the FBI on January 20th. So it's for those who remain there. It's a cover your ass kind of deal. Maybe
What?
smoke, dust the trails,
All
Kinda
these
deal.
distractions right now,
or
they're
set the
doing-
narrative.
They're doing
before
other
they
stuff right now behind the scenes to cover their asses for what's coming.
Yeah.
This is why you don't fire somebody or fire a whole division or whatever. You let them all know 2 months ahead of time, hey, you're out the door in 2 months.
But
Because now, what the fuck, they're covering everything they've been doing up. They're hiding stuff. They're doing what they can to sabotage Trump as much as they can.
I
before he takes
agree.
office.
I believe he was dead when he pulled up already. I think the summons option was used. I think they need to look at who was in the tower. He didn't
It's
shoot
just
himself.
crazy,
yeah.
like they can find all these people, but yeah, they can't find this one.
Well, like Eddie said, they found Saddam Hussein hiding in a freaking hole in the middle of the desert
yeah,
on the other side of the world. I mean, we were probably watching him for a few years.
It doesn't matter.
But, It was a trophy, just like the so-called Bin Laden, which this could get people riled up. We know that wasn't Bin Laden. But yeah, I mean, I don't trust anything.
Talking about the Capitol, a homeless guy doesn't take a shit without them knowing his name and exactly what box he's living in.
I didn't see the percussion go
Right,
off
Leo?
either
Yeah.
in the front of the Cybertruck. Okay, moving on. Trudeau resigned. Trudeau means shit to us, but it's the Prime Minister of Canada, and it's just funny. He's resigning because Trump made him his bitch, to put it lightly. He came down here after Trump threatened 25% tariffs, and he thought he was going to get some leeway and get some political capital over his biggest rival, Pierre, whatever his name is, some French guy, but some guy in Canada that sounds very MAGA. But it's always wary. You don't trust these foreign conservatives or ones that act like it because they're always whacked in their own way. So time will tell. I mean, obviously dealing with foreign prime ministers, it's always crap shot. But Trudeau is out, which is crazy because he's been there for I don't know how long. But his daddy was a prime minister also. Well, not his dad was. Well, his dad was a dictator, but his stepdad or his baby, I don't know how you would describe it, but one dad was prime minister of Canada, the other dad was dictator of Cuba. You put the pieces together. He's gone, so we'll see how that turns out. And Trump has been playing with this rhetoric, and I think this is funny because it gets everybody talking. And Trump has always been a master of the media. So he touted Trudeau in the media with making Canada the 51st state. Very little seriousness behind that, but let's, real quick side note, put some thought behind that. Why not? If you were able to divide the country up to electorates that are proportional to their population, just like our states are, it's feasible. But now Trump's talking about Greenland, which we talked about Greenland. Greenland's a very important strategical place. We used to have a territory, a small city kind of like deal there, but we gave that up back to the Danish, who is the crown, who's the crown over huge Greenland. Anyways, we still have a Space Force base there. There's still thousands of missiles there. There's missile detection systems there. We have a vested interest in the north of Greenland, and I don't really see a problem with that either.
Right.
If these people want to be, I mean, we don't. Let's be honest though. We're not really talking about statehood. It's very hard to make a statehood. Puerto Rico would be a state already. Guam would be a state already. But they are protectorates, and Canada and Greenland and Panama are all feasible.
Was something Trump was talking about too.
Well, Panama Canal, just like Greenland, when you lose your vested interest in this territory that is a military asset, who's going to move in when that country's economics are in same position we are? China's going to own their debt.
Just like China it's all part of the plan. They're trying to weaken us so they can move in here too.
Yeah, and not to mention Greenland is a part of North America, and it's the world's largest island. It's part of North America, but it is part of the European Union because they are under the crown of Denmark. So it's kind of like, do you trust the European Union being in your backyard? I don't know. The Panama Canal, very different. It's a major shipping route. We built it. We protected it. We funded it. Our leadership made stupid moves when it came to these land lease deals or whatever they're called. And something Jimmy Carter did. I'm not sure the actual details, but we were slated to give it back. We had to give it back to Panama, turn over ownership. And again, guess who owns half that territory now due to their investments, and it's China. We see this in Italy. Northwest Italy is mostly Chinese infrastructure. The east side of Africa, Chinese infrastructure.
Wake up, people.
A lot of South America, Chinese infrastructure.
China's the big threat.
So, here we are fretting about the Russians. It seems like every politician on the left wants us to be at odds with the Russians. Like it's some playbook out of 1984 where the West has to be at war with the East constantly, but which East? So it's a debacle, I don't know what to think about. I don't know. I don't think we'll ever see a 51st state in our lifetime, or I don't think we'll ever see any of these areas added to our territory. But what is wrong with American expansion? I mean, without the Louisiana Purchase, without a deal made for the Louisiana Purchase, 2/3 of American real estate would not exist.
Right.
So,
I think most people would see. I mean, what kind of expansion are we talking about? You talking about like a purchase, an agreement? I think people would be okay with that a little bit more, but you're going to still have. It's what the other country's going to start to say. Oh, America's, big bad America. They're trying to take over. They're trying to take over the world.
Yeah.
So
Well, Trump had said.
Meanwhile, it's China that's actually doing it.
Trump had said he's not going to take military force off the table when it comes to Panama Canal. Canada and Greenland, he says he doesn't need to do military. It's not about that. It's economic. So yeah, wheeling and dealing.
Right.
What's better for the people of
Canada?
Greenland?
With Canada, it's they would benefit greatly.
Yeah, well, like Eddie said, he wants Iceland. Yeah, me too. I want to stream every day for a living. The Patriots Prayer, yeah, Eddie says these are libs is the only problem. Most of Canada, yeah. But there's a lot of conservatives up there too, and act proportionate right. I mean, I don't know. I don't know if I would say I would vote for ratification to include Canada into the United States, but as a protectorate, if we're going to make some money off it, why not? That's all the comments I got. Yeah. Anyways, I want to thank everybody for tuning in. We are part of another group. We stream live to Patriot Prayer Network every Tuesday at 8 p.m. It's a great family, great lineup of patriots. At home, we run our own little network called Indian River Connections, where we push information out on local taxing districts like the school board, the hospital district. Our first show is this Friday, hosted by Joanne Binford, and stop by, check us out. It's IndianRiverConnections.com, and you can find it on social media. Also, the first show will be called The Board Report, and we're focusing on school board practices here in Indian River County, Florida. But besides that, make sure you find and follow the Patriot Prayer Network on Rumble and on X. You know what? We joined the network in October, and the growth of our show has expanded exponentially. And the group of people we work with now, albeit virtually, I couldn't appreciate them. They are patriots, and they're great. They're turning into great friends. So I appreciate the Patriot Prayer Network.
One thing I would say is, like, I think we were a little hesitant whether or not we should join the network, and I have to say, I mean, it's been awesome since we joined.
Yeah,
no regrets whatsoever.
We have some learning curves with the software.
Had some fun. We've been able to get some guests on here that otherwise we may not have been able to get on. So it's definitely been a great experience.
Thanks again, Buckeye McGroin. Like I told you, I see your comments on Two Guys One Coop, and I'm a fan. We should take Ukraine. It's already paid in full.
Right?
Yeah.
Jesus, we paid for it probably multiple times.
Yeah. Check out the x.com/the Patriots Pray. There's a website also, thepatriotsprayer.com, I believe it is. Yep. Check out our X. Also, check out our website too, at IndianRiverConnections.com. We look forward to you. Thank you for your comments. Thanks to everybody at the Patriot Prayer Network, and we will see you on here next Tuesday. But we will see you on Indian River Connections, possibly on Friday. We look forward to it. Thank you, guys.
See you guys later.
Say the brave to shout, make America great, tell them what it's about. Facts over feelings, cutting through the noise, fighting woke mobs and the kids with toys. They spew their lies, they spreading hate. Let's BS ain't gonna seal our fate. No nonsense here, just straight to the point. Truce to ammo in this battleground joint. Make America great again, stand and fight. Facts over feelings, day and night. Fight the woke mob, cancel their crime. Truth on the mic while they keep lying. They wanna cancel, they wanna control, but we got the truth, we breaking the mold. Speak your mind, don't let them bind. Words cut through, sharper than a sword of kind. Senses just raw, no filter to stop. Voices rise up from the bottom to top.